Now, if you're an AOC stan, or if you don't like to be called that, if you're an AOC, if you're a person who don't mind AOC or you like AOC, that's a better way, more respectful way of labeling you. Don't be afraid to speak up in the comments. I want to know your honest opinion on things. I want to know what you think. If you're conservative and don't have a fight in any of this, of course, I want to know your honest opinion. But let's go back to the tweet. Where is it? Let's close some of these windows here. Actually, I can only close one. Ron's tweet is here, and I'm going to blow it up. And then we'll go to the actual video where he's talking about AOC and see if we can hear this just radical, all out of bounds critique that Ron Pacone has given AOC that would make a status quo subscriber unsub. So here's Ron Pacone's tweet here. And let's see, where am I? I think, oh, I didn't even check the notes to see if I spelled that right, but it's too late. Spelled it wrong. It's long enough. I saw some comments under a status quo video where people are unsubscribing because we criticize their beloved squad. Reminds me of series shows and people who call and complain because I criticize Queen Clinton. Are now serious shows. Glad being a psychopath child is being passed down to a new generation. And that is a great point. Like, I thought this wasn't a thing anymore. I thought shielding for the squad wasn't a thing anymore. I mean, the strike, you forgot about the strike breaking? I thought shielding for them wasn't a thing any longer. Have you seen the Ukraine funding? Have you seen the calling Joe Biden giving them an A and a B and doing a great job? And pretending and shifting the Overton window to the right when they're doing that, when they're saying he's doing progressive things, when they're saying he's listening, like, and we're gonna get to that video where AOC is saying some things like that. But I don't want to spoil the video. But let's look at some of the comments here and see what people are saying about what Ron is saying here. Just somebody saying, I didn't know you were on status quo. I just watched the video. Thanks regularly. I'm on. So here's when Ron is on. I am on Thursdays with Tina. Okay, that was Tina. We'll look up who Tina is. But I have been doing Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays while Jordan is on paternity. Oh, so paternity leave is what Jordan is on. Okay, so this is a little just information on just the background on why he is doing it. And let me click on Tina since I didn't know who she was. Let me find out more of who she is. International Woman of Mystery. Chief. Oh, so she's funny. Host of what podcast is she a host of? I may have it too big for me to see. Okay, so I mean, I don't see anything out really crazy. Seems like a lot of stuff I would actually retweet. So, well, maybe I can from this time. Anyway, all right. So I now know a little bit about her politics through some of the things she's retweeted. So I see that she could be a Democrat person or a person willing to go through that or keep doing that strategy. So that's fine. All right. So let's now bring up the video because the video is really going to tell the story of that tweet. Was it called for? Let's see this radical analysis by Ron Pacone, this analysis that is just out of bounds. That will cause people to say, hey, fuck this shit. I'm leaving. Now I figured out why this thing was too big like before. I make it big for my tweets. I gotta bring it back down for the videos. All right, so I think this is it. Yeah, I had watched some of it already. So let's go back. Let's bring this up here.
When the Democratic Party aligns with Republicans in some sort of power sharing agreement or power sharing arrangement, the things that come out of that are never progressive, right? If anything, the progressive issues get sidelined time and time again, right? The IDC is a good case study in this. If anybody wants to look into them a little bit more, you can. But basically, you would have, progressive New York senators that would be saying on their websites, yes, I'm for universal health care. Yes, I'm for a higher minimum wage. Yes, I'm for the Green New Deal, whatever these issues are. And then every time some progressive legislation would try to get through the state Senate, it wouldn't go anywhere. It would die in committee. It would die in the committee. And part and parcel to that was the IDC, right? So the Democrats that participated in that power sharing agreement.
Sorry, the name of this video is AOC Cringe. The squad gets concessions all the time. So if you haven't seen that video, and I couldn't find it on Twitter, there's a video of AOC saying progressives get concessions all the time. So yes, she says that. So anyway, so let's listen some more.
They're like, okay, we'll just bring it to the committee and it'll just sit there and it will die. It will never get to the floor for a vote. So it's one thing to say on your website, to say when you're on the campaign trail, to say when you're door knocking, these are the issues I support, this is what I'm going to fight for. But then when you get down to the wire and you're there and this is what you're doing instead, you're letting bills die in committee and whatnot. After a while, the American public doesn't buy it anymore. They look at you as the senator that cried wolf. So I think we're seeing some of the same things happen in Congress. And so when they were floating this idea last week of the Democrats creating some sort of power sharing agreement with the Republican Party because of this Kevin McCarthy problem, I was just eye rolling. I was like, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, it went nowhere.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. A, it's just not. The Republicans aren't going to agree to it. But B, even if it did, how is this a win?
So I think people are really starting to get frustrated with time and time again. And this is just another, for instance, of it where you see, you see the Freedom Caucus withholding their votes and the squad wouldn't do this. And every single time on every single bill, on every single policy, there's always just enough that we lose. There's always just enough of a split that we lose. And I think people are starting to say, hey, this.
So far, what he said, is that cancelable? Is that unsubscribable? Like, I'm gonna unsubscribe. Do any AOC supporter, any AOC fan, any AOC person who mildly likes her, is that so far what you heard from Ron? Is that something to make you unsubscribe? That would make me unsubscribe. But I'm curious, creative experiments. You may have a different reason to unsubscribe. I can't tell. So no one else says they would. All right, so I'll keep it pushing. All right, so let's continue the video. He gets more into the critique of her more in depth, but let's listen some more to Ron.
This is ridiculous. What's going on here? And so here's what AOC had to say about this.
Let's play some of this.
To some of the Instagram stuff.
I see some people say, Dems should negotiate to get concessions. We do all the time.
So let's take that comment for face value. So if what AOC says is true, that they negotiate all the time, what are the results? So isn't AOC admitting to their negotiations never materialize into anything? Isn't this an admission of that? I'm just saying, like, if you're saying we do it all the time, guys, like the reason we don't know because we haven't seen any results, and you won't tell us the plan or strategy. You never tell us what that is. So, I mean, she has a surprised look on her face as if, are you kidding me? Like, we don't know. We know we don't know. So let's listen some more to this person here called AOC.
So here's what AOC had to say about this.
Right. Let's play some of those.
To some of the Instagram stuff.
I see some people say, you know, Dems.
So it's on Instagram. This is the reason why I couldn't find it. This is from Instagram. Okay.
Should negotiate to get concessions. We do all the time. But what we don't do is bring them publicly in order to empower not just Republicans, but the fascist flank.
Or yourself. You don't bring them publicly to empower yourself. That's what you don't do. You don't bring them publicly to empower yourself. Let me rewind a little bit and continue.
Empower not just Republicans, but the fascist flank of the Republican Party. And ironically, a lot of the concessions that Kevin McCarthy, in nature, they're not the same ones, of course, but the nature of some of these concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side. We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary rules. We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary.
She's having a hard time listing what they've negotiated on. We're going to rewind it just a few seconds so we can hear when she begins to try to list these things here.
Budgetary rules.
Sorry, didn't go long enough. Let's see the different things.
We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary.
Doesn't sound like a person that has done a lot of negotiating to me. Let's go back a little more. It sounds like she said a little more.
Concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side. We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary rules. We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary rules, and
she just said budgetary rules 3 times. What I'm asking, and what RBN asks a lot of people to do, use your lived experience in analyzing this, and AOC and progressives and just politicians. If somebody in your regular real life was behaving and giving tales like this when they're telling you something, wouldn't you get suspicious? If somebody said, you're in a debate with somebody about who does more for the other person, and they're like, yeah, I do a lot of stuff for you. Shoot, I unlock the garage for you, and then I unlock the garage for you. Yeah, and then and then when I open the gate, then I unlock the garage for you. In your own life, wouldn't you go, why don't people do that and go with their gut with politicians? It feels like people are talked out of their own gut. Because I know your gut. When you're watching this video, you don't have to know politics to know that this person is having a hard time naming stuff she's saying she does a lot of. And not only she having a hard time, the way she's stumbling over her words is such a tell. I'm going to rewind it a little further, and then I'm going to let it play through.
Ironically, a lot of the concessions that Kevin McCarthy, in nature, they're not the same ones, of course, but the nature of some of these concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side.
Sabby Sab in the building. What's up, Sab? She knows damn well what people are talking about. She's gaslighting. And there you go. Bingo, Sab. This is gaslighting, but there's certain people who aren't good at gaslighting on the fly. Like Kamala Harris, AOC. This is why she's being known as a person who gives a word salad sort of answer. Because she's not good at doing that on the fly. So let's continue with the video.
We have also negotiated for certain budgetary.
That's one.
We have negotiated for certain budgetary rules.
That's two.
We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary rules, and very similar kind of scopes and areas. But we do that.
Very similar kind of scopes and areas. Is this serious, Sabby? Is this serious? This is not serious here. Like I said, apply in your own life. If somebody is behaving like this, what do you have you taken from that in your own lived experience? I take that you're a lying sucker, and there's no way I'm believing what you're saying. Use your gut feeling, your lived experience feelings, or understanding of people's mannerisms with these politicians. Let's continue.
Prior to getting to the floor vote. Not only that, but when people say Dems should do this, there's also a very critical question of just basic math.
All right, there's so many things here
There's so many things. So first of all, what did they get then? What is she's saying? We negotiate privately. Okay, what did you get? Well, let's start with Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, exactly.
Nancy, what did you get? Fill me in. If something happened privately, what did y'all get?
Nothing.
Here's
the thing. Here's the thing, Ron, that kills me about this. So she's basically criticizing the Freedom Caucus for withholding their votes. That's basically what she's saying there. Like, that's a big chunk of people to go to the floor and not know they're going to be on your side. Well, isn't that the fucking point? That's why they're doing what they're doing. They know if they withhold their vote, that gives them power. That is the point.
Yeah, and the whole thing where she's like, it's math. They have like numbers. Look, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a joke. The only thing you need to do to join the Progressive Caucus is have progressive car insurance. It's a freaking joke. But nonetheless, they're selling us this joke. They're selling us this joke. So guess what? The Congressional Progressive Caucus has like over 100 people. So that's a big flank. If they were actually what they say they are, I mean, it's freaking. I think like
none of them are willing to withhold votes to get what they want, and
none of them are even progressive. But like,
but even the ones that are, Ron, there are some in there that are progressive. They're legitimately are, but for them to say, you think none of them are progressive? None of them?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like Ron has no hesitation, none. So you're saying none? Yes. None. Yes. None. Yes. Is this on? Yes. None. And she's legitimately surprised. So there's that. I still believe in the progressive Democrat narrative. I'm not going to say strategy because I don't know enough about her to know that part, but at least the narrative.
I think like
none of them are willing to withhold votes to get what they want, and
none of them are even progressive. But like,
but even the ones that are, Ron, there are some in there that are progressive. They're legitimately are, but for them to say, you think none of them are progressive? None of them?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Not single one? All right, that'll be a conversation for another day too. My point is this: is that
maybe this is the line that gets under that status quo's person's skin so much to say, how dare Ron comes on status quo after years of grooming by Jordan to love progressive Democrats? How dare he comes on and said not a single one. Not a single one. And they're like, how dare you, Jordan, as you have time with your baby, bring on this guy. It literally shatters the dream, the fantasy of people to accept that. That is literally the reason why there's just a lot of people just that refuse to accept it, even though all the evidence is right in your face. You refuse to accept that Santa Claus is fake, even though you found a Santa Claus suit in your dad's closet. And the Santa Claus suit has the same nutmeg, has the same cranberry juice spill that you did as a kid on Santa Claus that day. And you're like, no, but daddy's not Santa Claus. That's what you have to do. But anyway, maybe it's a bad analogy. Let's get back to the comments. I'm going to toss up as we listen to the rest of this video. So here's a point where there's an obvious disagreement. I wonder if they go into it. I only listened to about 9.5 minutes of the video. So let's see if they do.
They're not willing to do what the Freedom Caucus is willing to do. And that's part and parcel to the problem. I think the folks that voted for them want them to do that. They want them to withhold votes unless they get some concessions. Saying that we're negotiating behind the wall before we get to the floor, you just don't know about it, isn't going to cut it at this point. That means at some point you conceded to whatever the party demands were, which weren't progressive, and that it comes across as you didn't fight for anything, which you probably didn't, let's be honest. We saw it in California when it came to our universal health care bill. They pulled the vote from going to the floor prior to that day because they said they didn't have the votes, right? So that's what they were doing. They were negotiating behind
and then when you ask for names,
they won't give them to you. But here's the thing. The difference is this. When they take it to the floor, and if somebody was actually willing to go to the mat on this and did that, the voting public would see quite clearly who was behind the bill and who wasn't. And I think that is very important information for voters to have.
That's why we wanted the vote on Medicare for all. I mean, that's why they were like, let's get the vote on Medicare for all. No one thought it was going to win. Of course it wasn't. But like, you wanted to see, like, okay, let's see where the cards lay. Because there was a bunch of people that when Trump was in office and they knew there was no chance of Medicare for all happening, not that there's a chance now, but, like with a Republican in the White House, there's no chance at all. Like they were like, oh, yeah, I'm for it. Now Joe Biden's in the White House. He's against Medicare for all, but it's going to make him look bad if he vetoes it. So let's see who's really for it. Let's see how.
That's forced to vote. Everybody knows that's logical. Anybody being honest knows that. She's confusing progressives with leftists. They are not. They are pro-war strike breakers. Yeah. See, I'm not gonna go there with that. Yeah, let's continue with the video. So
how it really freaking lines up.
But this is what they're doing. In the IDC, it was another example that we just talked about that. This is what they do, right? This gives them the cover to say, I'm a progressive. I believe in Medicare for all. I believe in the Green New Deal. I believe in raising the minimum wage. These are my values. This is why you should vote for me. It allows them to continue to keep doing that without ever having to make any movements in that direction whatsoever, right? Because nobody's ever going to know. This is the political party that the Democrats engage in constantly, the political theater that they engage in constantly. And this is why voters don't trust the party anymore and haven't for many years now. For many years now that people...
The reason that this heat is going on AOC and the squad
is because they said the opposite when they ran for office. They were going to fight. That's right. We're going to fight for you. We're going to, put our foot down.
And they're going to cause a ruckus.
We're going to cause a ruckus. And
so
that's like, not what's happening.
So, this is RBN's audience listening to this, and we're all just like, we're waiting for the problem here. We're waiting for the problem. We're waiting for Ron to say the thing, right? But we have to understand through the lens of Status Coup's audience. Through that lens. So through that lens, Ron is saying some ridiculous shit to them. So just understand that. And let's get back to Ron explanation here.
Causing a ruckus to celebrating the quote unity in your party. It's like, well, wait a second. You were supposed to cause the good trouble. You were supposed to cause the ruckus in the party, and you're not doing that. And again, like, she's using all the like, well, look at the numbers. It's like, yeah, but if you guys don't act as a block, you're not using the numbers you do have. We get it. There's only 6 of you. But if you guys acted as a block every single time, there'd be concessions. And I'm one of these people too. I don't care. I really care so little. And by so little, I mean not at all. I don't care about the aesthetic stuff. I just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about tweets or Instagram. I really don't care. And if like all the aesthetic stuff was like friendly with your colleagues, but we were getting stuff done politically, I wouldn't care. If we were getting concessions and they were acting as a block and they were holding down the line and they were like getting these wins,
or at least trying to get them. Right now, it appears they're not even trying to get them. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't care. You can call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear until you're blue, no matter who in the face. I don't care. I don't care if we're getting those wins. The fact that we're not every single time we lose by just enough. And if they would act as a block, it could have gone differently. I mean, so it's like, sometimes people who won't criticize the squad, they always they're like, well, there's only 6 of them. What do you ask them? It's just like everything we're asking is within their power. We're not asking them to do anything outside of their power. Ron, I don't think that AOC can ride a dragon and shoot healthcare down in the form of lightning bolts. I'm not asking her to do that. I'm asking the squad to work as a block, something they continue to refuse to do. And now they're freaking celebrating it. And she went from
that's exactly it.
There's another clip in here where she's celebrating
that's where
the diversity of the Democratic Party, quote unquote.
In a way that didn't make any sense. We need to play some of this. This was some serious word salad. That was the 4-minute one.
And secondly, that also speaks to the Republican base. The Republican base is very different than the Democratic base in nature, in issue, in parallel, etc. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party, whether people like that or not just in terms of identity. We are very diverse in terms of identity, but we're also diverse in terms of ideology. We're diverse in terms of age, all of those things. And that diversity means that our Democratic base is very diverse in its interests as well. And the Democratic base would not sustain this kind of action.
Oh, man. The Democratic base, this is a new one. The Democratic base would not sustain a force the vote strategy. Diverse my ass, Savvy says. Diverse in ideology? Like, the Democratic base would not survive because we're diverse. The Democratic base would not survive a force the vote moment. I don't understand this. I don't understand people. Why would you unsub because of this? Why would you unsub? I'm trying to think of the person. Is there a person who understands this that's here? Nobody ridicule this person. if you are a person who understands totally why you would unsub from status quo, if you heard hearing Ron say this, speak up in the comments and I'll put your comments up. I'm trying to understand the logic behind this. Well, that's the thing. You say don't try. This is the thing that people say this all the time. Like, I'm trying to understand why you're saying this. Not that comment, but I'm trying to understand why somebody would unsubscribe because of what Ron is saying here. It literally doesn't make any sense, because hearing what she said, they are literally not even caring about logic at all. They're not caring about whether anything sounds logical whatsoever. Now they're just saying, now they're only speaking to people who are on their side for sure. So it doesn't matter. They're speaking to the Ryan Grimms. They're speaking to the David Sirotas. And anyway, let's listen some more so we can get through this segment here.
So
like the rest of this I haven't heard. Like I said, I only listened to like a 9.5, and we're at 10.5 or almost 11 minutes now in.
Went from, and this is, so it's almost as if she's following a DNC guidebook on how to break down these issues for voters who are not happy. Because she went from, a couple years ago, AOC was saying things like Joe Biden and I shouldn't even be in the same political party. By the way, she's right.
And she's
saying things like there is no left party in the United States. The Democratic Party is not the left party.
Yeah,
I agree. And now she's saying, it's like she's rebranding that now via DNC handbook and using the whole we're a big tent. We're a big tent. Which, by the way, that's the opposite of what a political party should frickin' be. Yeah, a political party is supposed to have a frame and an ideological framework that they think will make better laws and rules for a society. And you know who they negotiate with? Other frickin' political parties.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
and they form a coalition.
They form coalitions. I'm not saying they need to be 100% monolithic in everything. Of course not. But you shouldn't be some
but on the big
wide,
issues, yeah,
like you shouldn't be like, oh, I think everyone should have health care. Oh, I'm not so sure. Well, we're a wide
then you don't belong. Yeah,
that's
you don't belong in the same party. Then I agree. It doesn't make any sense.
That's bullshit. And so now she's celebrating this when before she knew it was a problem. And this is why people are really freaking fed up. This is why people are fed up. And, you know, it's not, I mean, I'm sorry. I know that people, they don't want to admit that the squad is really letting us down because it's like, well, they're the only people who are nice to us. It's like, look, you got to call something what it is. You can't sugarcoat what's going on here. And at the end of the day, it's way easier for them to play it the company way. It's way easier for them career-wise, and that's what's happening. So, I mean,
I think to an extent it is. I think
how is it not?
I think the fear. No, I'm saying that I think the fear of not having any power is really a powerful thing to hold over all of these.
We don't have any power, though. We have no power.
Well, but you're never going to have power compared to like the corporate Dems. But what little power you do have is in, I think, withholding.
We never have power like the power of corporate Dems.
Your vote or in demanding certain concessions for that vote. And I think the optics are now that doesn't happen whatsoever, which is problematic. I think her voters would prefer, and I think this is true of any of the squad members. I think they would prefer to like at least see the battle happen, even if you lose, because then they know at least somebody's fighting for them. But right now, what they hear is somebody saying, we negotiated behind closed doors. And obviously the jaded response, the cynical response to that, and people are cynical for a very good reason, is, yeah, sure you did. Whatever. You're just as bad as everybody else in Congress. You're a sellout. That should be obvious to her that's what would happen, right? That's of course that's what's going to happen. So if her and her friends behaved like the Freedom Caucus, who she's now criticizing, then there might be concessions, right? The fact that we are entering, 15 rounds of voting here is because they are withholding their votes because they want something.
All right, I'm going to skip to AOC speaking again. because I do want to get through the video. So let's skip to this.
Should we let
what
people
did you
vote?
say in it? I forget. Well,
Yeah.
Play the short one, Colin. Play the 50 seconds. That's the only one we haven't listened to yet.
You know, and people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than you. Lauren Boebert won her race by 500 votes. Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus.
So people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than AOC. Now, you tell me if AOC's response, every point she makes, has anything to do with backbone. So let's listen to AOC.
Plus, 9 district, and nearly lost it to an up-and-coming Democrat as an incumbent member of Congress. Lauren Boebert is dramatically weakened. And the people of Colorado nearly sent her packing. If 500 people voted differently that day, this would not be happening right now. And so, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a hard-standing Republican, she almost cost you your majority. And if it, frankly, wasn't for the New York State Democratic Party and the New York State Democratic Party's leadership and the incompetence there, we would be happy.
I think we got our answer that AOC plans never to use force to vote, is never going to use it. Did you not just hear her say she's trying to speak to the Republicans saying, hey, Lauren Boebert almost jeopardized your majority by forcing a vote? I don't understand. Why is she even doing this? Like, why not just be quiet and let this die down? Like, you're just looking, you look so stupid with these nonsensical answers. I'm going to rewind it like 45 seconds and listen.
Votes. Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus 9 district and nearly.
Let me rewind it some more. This is where she's listing. Now, again, the question, the what I wanted to listen, what we're listening for is if any of the stuff says she has a backbone that she's listing. She's not even answering the question.
Should we let
what
people
did you
vote?
say in it? I forget. Well,
Yeah.
Play the short one, Colin. Play the 50 seconds. That's the only one we haven't listened to yet.
You know, and people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than you. Lauren Boebert won her.
Lauren Boebert has more spine than you.
Race by 500 votes.
Lauren Boebert won her race by 500 votes. Winning your race by 500 votes says what about your spine, AOC? What does that say about your spine? What is the point of that, saying that in answering the spine part?
Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus 9 district and nearly lost it to an up-and-coming Democrat.
Okay, understand that is the same exact thing said a different way. Take a Trump plus 9 district and turn it into is the same thing as saying she won by 500 votes. That's the same exact thing. And why is she's saying Lauren Boebert? She's saying Lauren Boebert is bad through all these electoral politics sort of thresholds. And she thinks she's winning by saying this.
As an incumbent member of Congress. Lauren Boebert is dramatically weakened.
She's dramatically weakened.
And the people of Colorado nearly sent her packing. If 500 people voted differently.
You understand that AOC is saying the same point 3 different ways. Do you see? This is not a different point that she's saying. She's saying the same thing. I'm just having an epiphany. I don't understand why people listen to, like, I'm starting to think that this is I'm not going to say that.
Differently that day, this would not be happening right now. And so, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a hard-standing Republican, she almost cost you your majority. And if it, frankly, wasn't for the New York State Democratic Party and the New York State Democratic Party's leadership and the incompetence there, we would be having that gavel right now. If between them and Lauren Boebert, we would be having a Democratic majority at this moment.
I'm no fan of Lauren Boebert, but I mean,
No.
that had nothing to do with Backbone.